You know, for 80 years, we've managed to avoid another world war. But honestly, that long peace might just be an illusion, because right now, the world is holding its breath. Across the globe, the fuses on several old, simmering conflicts are burning shorter than ever. So today, we're going to explore the 5 places where the next Great War could ignite.
Benjamin Franklin said this centuries ago, but wow, does that feel chillingly relevant today or what? History shows us again and again that huge, large-scale conflict isn't some rare anomaly. It's a recurring, tragic part of the human story. The real question is, are we about to turn its next most dangerous chapter?
And look, this isn't just some abstract philosophical question. This number, 50, that's how many countries are involved in an active conflict right now. But here's what's truly staggering. That number has doubled in just the last 5 years. The world is becoming a much more dangerous place, way faster than we think.
Yeah, that relative quiet we've had since World War II, it really seems to be ending. Disputes that have been simmering for decades are now reaching a boiling point, and they're being fueled by new technologies and shifting alliances. So the real question is, which one of these is going to be the first to boil over?
We're going to start in Asia, with a nation that's facing a unique and frankly terrifying strategic problem. India is literally squeezed between 2 nuclear-armed rivals, and it has active, unresolved border disputes on both fronts. This isn't just a tense neighborhood, it is a true powder keg.
Now, what's so fascinating about this first front is where it all started. The conflict with China actually stems from something called the McMahon Line, a border drawn by British colonial administrators way back in 1914. So what's the problem? Well, China was never part of that agreement, and they have never, not for a single day, recognized it as legitimate.
So after a short but pretty bloody war in 1962, China established this, the Line of Actual Control, or the LAC. Now this isn't some official, internationally recognized border. Think of it more like a really tense military front line. And this gets to the core of the problem. Both sides claim huge chunks of territory on the other side of this line.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, old border disputes just simmer forever, right? But the real question is, why now? Well, the entire region around them is becoming more and more volatile. Just look at the recent turmoil in Myanmar. If order completely collapses there, you could see refugees streaming across the border, creating a crisis that either India or China could use as an excuse to press their claims. And that's exactly how a dormant conflict suddenly erupts.
But India's challenges aren't just on one border. If you turn to the west, you find a totally different, and in some ways, an even more dangerous conflict with Pakistan. As you can see here, in a conventional fight, it is a clear mismatch. India has a major advantage in almost every single category, especially air and naval power. I mean, just look at aircraft carriers. India has 2, Pakistan has 0.
So what does this military imbalance actually mean in the real world? It's not just about who would win or lose a conventional fight. It's about how it forces one side into a desperate corner, completely changing the rules of the game and dramatically speeding up the timeline for escalation.
And here is that terrifying reality. If a full-on conventional war were to break out, Pakistan would face an almost certain defeat. To avoid that, their military doctrine might seem no other option but to use nuclear weapons first. And just like that, a regional war becomes a global catastrophe in a matter of hours.
Okay, so from the Himalayas, let's jump over to the Pacific, where another island is at the absolute center of a superpower standoff. The status of Taiwan is arguably the single issue with the most direct potential to pull the United States into a massive war.
For Beijing, their claim goes way back. They point to declarations from World War II that said Japan had to return all the territories it seized, and that included Taiwan. They also reinforced this with the 1971 UN resolution that recognized the People's Republic of China as the sole legitimate government of China.
On paper, a direct conflict looks like a total blowout, right? I mean, China has overwhelming numbers. 4 times the troops, 3 times the aircraft, 10 times the submarines. But, and this is a big but, Taiwan has some critical advantages of its own. A formidable defensive position as an island, and most importantly, advanced American weapons and deep, long-standing military ties with the US.
And that American involvement, it's the real wild card here. It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, the implied promise of US help is a powerful deterrent against a Chinese invasion. But on the other hand, it pretty much guarantees that if an attack ever does happen, the conflict will not stay regional. It instantly becomes a direct superpower confrontation.
The danger of a superpower showdown isn't just about Taiwan, though. Just 1,000 miles to the north,
We find another relic of the Cold War that could erupt at any moment, the Korean Peninsula, one of the most tense and heavily fortified borders on the entire planet.
Now, what this slide shows so clearly is how it basically maps out the tripwires for a world war. Any conflict here immediately pulls in the world's major nuclear powers. North Korea has formal defense pacts with both China and Russia. Meanwhile, South Korea is protected by its treaty with the United States. It's a chain reaction just waiting for a spark.
And while this standoff has felt frozen for decades, the stakes are getting higher every single year. North Korea's nuclear arsenal is not static, it's growing, and at an alarming rate. From an estimated 60 warheads today, some projections suggest they could have as many as 200 by 2027. This isn't just a regional problem, it's a global threat.
All right, from Asia's powder kegs, we're going to turn now to Europe, where it feels like a new Iron Curtain is descending, and the battle lines are clearly drawn between Russia and the West. And the most dangerous flashpoint here involves the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania.
And the reason this is so incredibly dangerous comes down to this one simple, powerful clause, Article 5. It is the absolute heart of the NATO alliance. If Russia were to invade any of these countries, it would legally trigger an immediate, collective military response from all 32 NATO members, including the United States. It is an automatic trigger for a great power war.
So we've looked at 5 distinct hotspots, right? Each with its own history, its own triggers. But there is a single, terrifying undercurrent that connects every single one of them. It's a strategic reality that makes any large-scale conventional war between major powers inherently unstable. It's this: finite inventories. See, even superpowers don't have an endless supply of missiles, shells, and advanced weapons. Modern warfare just consumes equipment at a shocking, mind-boggling rate, and global production lines simply cannot keep up. So what happens when a country starts to run out of conventional options in a war for its very survival?
Well, this is the chilling logic. As conventional weapons get used up, the pressure to escalate to nuclear weapons, to use them to avoid a devastating defeat, it becomes immense. The longer any major war between great powers lasts, the more likely it becomes that someone, somewhere, will reach for the ultimate weapon.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question. In the heat of a brutal existential conflict, when the stockpiles are empty and defeat is staring them right in the face, what choice will a world leader make? That is the terrifying dilemma at the heart of every single one of these global hotspots.